It was just another ordinary day in our happy little world. Except it really wasn't. These woods you see right here contain all kinds of natural wonders and beauty, such as the cool breeze through the trees, the greenery of the green grass, and the occasional decomposing squirrel. But there exists another worthy thing to note when traversing through these particular woods. For you see, you might stumble upon a rather peculiar fellow, a big-nosed freak, who goes by the name of Mr. Daydream. Not much is known, or worth knowing about this man. What is known, however, is that he likes to ramble on just about anything, eat a bunch of bizarre junk, and has a horrible habit of not putting out videos in a more consistent manner. But something else has been bothering him lately, and it's not the price of burritos going up, or how these new bags of candy corn are more difficult to open than usual. No, it's something else entirely. Most notably, the rise of AI. This groundbreaking new tool can grant anyone the ability to generate artful wonders and dazzling amazement. It can create just about any kind of video you can dream of, such as a monkey becoming a lawyer, a fire truck flying through space, or a greasy fat man covered in chocolate sauce standing on a mountain of ice cream, twerking in a very erotic manner. Not that I would type any of that, of course. Anyways, this has gotten Mr. Daydream thinking deeply and heavily reflecting on himself. For you see, not only does he like to wander aimlessly around the woods like a complete idiot, but he's also an artist. And this whole idea of AI seamlessly creating masterpieces for just about anyone in a matter of seconds has left him to ponder. Is there really a point in making art anymore? Has AI made that obsolete? Are dreams and creativity simply no more? Oh, it would appear he has finally reached a conclusion. About bloody time.
Hello everyone, Mr. Daydream here. Welcome to the show. Now, as some of you might already know, I love art. It's a wonderful way for us human beings and freaks to project our imagination, creativity, or emotions onto any surface, such as canvas. But if you're someone like me who's always tight on money, then you're more likely having to use cardboard instead, since that's all you can really afford. I actually ended up having to use a pizza box for one of my creations that one time, but let's not get too much into that. Point is, art is how many of us are able to express ourselves, to show the whole world what we're capable of, how we see things or perceive them, or just to have fun. Like that one time when I was in the waiting room at my driving school and I ended up drawing a fake Zelda game called The Legend of Zelda: The Missing Car, where Link himself is just trying to go out for a nice little drive, only to realize his car is gone. As it turns out, the evil cigarette-toting Ganon, the king of evil and looter of hubcaps, has stolen it right under his nose. He's so evil, in fact, he even went as far as to key scratch his own name onto the vehicle belonging to the hero of time. What a monster. I'm not sure where I got the idea for this stupid drawing, to be honest. I must have been inspired by that one YouTube poop where King Harkadian gets a car and then combined it with that one movie where some dude lost his car. But anyways, that's the pure joy of making art, or just silly little drawings. Being able to come up with ideas and bringing them to life is a beautiful gift given to mankind. And it's not just people, but even certain animals seem to share that same passion as well and enjoy it as much as we do. Art can only be made possible through living, breathing creatures. But here comes a new challenger: technology. While electronics have provided us with amazing things such as electricity, the internet, and toast, it now also appears to possess an ability we initially didn't think was possible: making art. And yet, we still don't know if they dream of electric sheep. This specific technology is most commonly referred to as AI, artificial intelligence. Now with this particular new thing, it is now possible to create pictures, artwork, or even videos by just simply typing in a few prompts. It is impressive, but also kind of scary how insanely fast AI has evolved over the years. You go from having it create horrifyingly disjointed nightmares that struggle to exist, to visuals that actually look pretty legitimate at times. Of course, there are ways you can tell when something is AI generated, like how they always seem to have that glossy plastic look to them. Then there's also the fact that they still struggle to perfect certain things, such as fingers and words, but who knows, that might be a thing in the past. Maybe in just a few weeks. Though I have to admit, it is a shame how AI has gotten immensely better in such a short period of time. I found it to be far more enjoyable when it struggled to create what you requested, but now that it can do it almost seamlessly, really made it lose a lot of its fun factor. Now it's just boring good instead of funny bad. Not to mention, once you take something that was once challenging or even difficult and make it to where anyone can do it with pure ease, people are just gonna abuse the heck out of it. To the point to where it's gonna annoy the heck out of me. And I know that lots of people, most notably artists, are either enraged or depressed with how AI is being used in the world of art. Many fear that this might spell the end of human creativity. And I have to admit, I've thought extensively about all this, like, is there even a point in making art anymore? Will AI forever take that away from us all? And my answer is, no it won't. AI can never, ever replace art, no matter how hard it tries. And I'll be glad to explain as to why that will always be the case. Now I gotta ask, what even is AI anymore? It's something we've always had when it comes to robotics, video games, and that one movie. So what makes this new and improved AI so vastly different, we don't even need to rebrand it? When I hear the word AI, I instantly think of video games, particularly when it comes to NPCs and how they interact with the environment, objectives, or certain threats. It's basically telling something that isn't real how to be convincingly real. And now we have all these AI chatbots everywhere, but what really annoys me the most with these ads is how they make it seem like it's this brand new revolutionary program that lets you speak with artificial intelligence and it will talk right back to you. And I'm like, have y'all never heard of Cleverbot before? It's a program that allows you to chat with a computer that gets smarter the more you interact with it. It has existed since 2008. I remember chatting with it every now and then during my school years, though we spent most of the time exchanging quotes from Hotel Mario.
It's from Bowser. Dear pesky plumbers, the Koopalings and I have taken over the Mushroom Kingdom.
Then of course there was Tay AI back in 2016 that was basically the same thing, except it was fueled by comments it received from Twitter, and yeah, that went about as well as you might expect. And let's not forget Akinator, a smug cartoon genie who can guess what fictional character you're thinking of by simply answering a number of yes-no questions. I was actually able to beat him one time, believe it or not. He wasn't able to guess Sir Kibble from the Kirby series. And I know that some folks out there will say that the AIs I just listed as examples don't generate the answers on their own. They just repeat whatever information they've been fed and respond with whatever sounds the most plausible. Fair enough, I guess, but the thing is, outdated or not, they still did their job well and got the work done. So why is there this unnecessary push to implement AI into almost everything we use? I really wish they called this generative AI something else in order to distinguish it from what we were previously accustomed to, because now it's going to cause all kinds of confusion. Like if I'm talking about AI in video games, People might think I'm referring to AI generated content when I'm actually talking about the behavior of the NPCs. Like what compelled this guy to crouch walk like that? I really don't understand why Google insists that when you type in a question, you should take the AI's word for it, which can be convenient at times I suppose, but even so, you should never take it at face value. Much like with everything else, you should always be cautious and think for yourself when taking in this kind of information, because sometimes, the answers aren't always what you're looking for. So because people can now create all kinds of artwork and such with the power of AI, there are plenty of those who, for whatever reason, think that this is all they need in order to become a full-fledged artist. In fact, they call themselves AI artists. Seriously, how does typing in prompts make you an artist? That's like if I called myself a 3D printer sculptor and all I do is print out figures using free blueprints I found online. The thing I find rather ironic is when AI artists are condescending towards real artists, thinking that the primary reason that they hate AI is because it makes them replaceable and irrelevant. No, artists can create. It's what makes whatever they craft all the more impressive. The fact that they were able to achieve such wondrous results without the use of AI, it was accomplished through raw skills and pure talent, something AI artists don't have. Anyone can type in a prompt. Not everyone can create art by hand. Don't you see? If anyone's replaceable here, it's you. Now look, if you're the type of person who uses AI in order to make or create art for fun, that's fine. But don't go around making others feel insignificant by being all smug about it. You have to realize that without AI, you literally can't create anything on your own. Not only are you making it your crutch, but your wheelchair as well. There's also the fact that all this generative AI could not at all be made possible had it not been for the hundreds, if not thousands of artwork made by actual artists. Their art were more or less stolen and then used to train the AI program in order to create artwork reminiscent of it. So because of that, you really do need to treat actual artists with more respect. Because of them, you are finally able to create what you've always dreamed of. But no, I guess all of that was just thankless work. You're welcome. Not. Sure, the AI image you generated looks impressive. Now try to paint it. Yeah, thought so. Calling yourself an artist by using AI is the equivalent of calling yourself a chef because you ordered a pizza. Sure, you made it possible, but you didn't exactly create it now, did you? Now this is something a lot of AI artists simply don't get. When you take something and make it so easy a caveman can do it, then it's not really all that impressive anymore when producing whatever artwork it's made to create. What is impressive, however, is when you're able to make art without the use of AI. Like this famous YouTube video where a guy drew a photorealistic Santa Claus entirely on Microsoft Paint. Look at this. This is nuts. And it's all done on one layer, no less. This is like winning Iron Chef using only an easy bake oven. Not everyone can create photorealistic images by hand, much less do it on an outdated art program. So that makes this drawing of Santa Claus far more impressive than whatever AI spews out. You're probably familiar with Etch-a-Sketch, a toy that lets you etch drawings using two little knobs. But the thing is, you can't undo a line, so if you were to make a mistake, you have to shake the whole thing and start all over again. Not to mention, the artwork can only be done on a single line, so there's only so very little you can actually draw on this thing. Or so I thought. Because there exist Etch-a-Sketch artists who can make all kinds of incredible drawings that I didn't even think were possible, and they did it all in one go with zero mistakes. They mastered creating curves using both knobs simultaneously. You have any idea how insanely difficult it is trying to draw a circle on this thing? It ain't easy. Then there's an artist named James Cook who creates artwork using a typewriter. Yeah, a typewriter. He basically feeds the same sheet of paper over and over again and types in various characters per row in order to make something that resembles a portrait, a city, and more. This takes a whole level of patience that's worthy of admiration. I especially love all the little Easter eggs he has included in his work. It really is neat to see someone take what many would consider to be an outdated piece of equipment and give it a whole new purpose. Then there's an artist named Willard Wiggin who makes tiny sculptures, and you're probably thinking, oh, tiny sculptures that you can balance on your finger? No. How about sculptures that are so tiny they rest in the eye of a needle? Yeah, no joke. This man creates sculptures so small you need some kind of microscope in order to see them properly. The sheer precision one must have to do something like this is astounding. Every breath you take, every beat your heart makes can interfere with crafting a sculpture as tiny as this. And I know it can be possible for AI to make these kinds of creations, especially if there's robotics involved, but once again, it's just not that impressive if it can be done so easily like that. What is impressive is when you're able to make such creations without the use of any of that high-tech fancy stuff. There's something to admire or even get inspired by. The fact that they can create unbelievable things using the most unlikely tools. It's what makes us human beings, well, simply amazing. There's so much talk on what AI can create and not so much on what us humans can create. With AI, it's easy. It's just a bunch of fancy programming and such. With people, I have no idea how they were able to create such complex things on their own. So that makes whatever they create all the more amazing. Like these brickmasters who built an entire Lego set based on the Silent Cartographer mission from Halo Combat Evolved. It's even more impressive when you consider the fact that there are no Lego sets based on the Halo series. Well, not unless you count Mega Bloks, of course. The pure craftsmanship that went into making this set is simply incredible, like how they were able to replicate the interior design that consists of angles in various directions, something that's very difficult to do with Lego. It also includes all kinds of lighting and moving parts that really help add more life to this creation. And I really like the use of mirrors in this set. How it's utilized to give the illusion of a much deeper chasm is pure genius. I also love all the little Easter eggs here and there, like this room that foreshadows the flood outbreak, and I especially love how they even incorporated elements straight from the novels. This is a set that was clearly crafted with love, care, and respect for the source material. And as a fan of Bionicle, I gotta say, the use of Borok faceplates as the energy shields is a nice touch. And then there are times where it's more than just art, it's their life's work. Like this sculptor by the name of Francois Montu. He does all kinds of unique sculptures and such, but the one that really catches your attention as well as your imagination is this small but incredibly detailed castle he crafted in the middle of the woods. He has spent several years working on this installation and it really shows. There's so much going on here. Towers, bridges, various structures, and all kinds of unnameable things. It's especially cute how there are even bugs taking residence in this mystical castle town, and it is absolutely gorgeous at nighttime when the lights begin to shine. It's almost magical. It makes you wish you could shrink down in size and take a stroll and explore this wondrous civilization. And you might think, so what? It's just some castle. Big deal. Well, it's more than just that. It actually has its own lore, believe it or not. Like how it has a miniature sun, but much like the giant one above us, we cannot look at it directly, so because of that, it has to be contained in a place where it's not so easy to get clear visibility of it. That's pretty interesting, and that's something AI can't do. Actual world building. I mean, I guess it could come up with something, but it's just gonna be a bunch of jumbled nonsense with no passion or purpose. Because it's the creator who's supposed to come up with all that. It's your world, crafted how you want it instead of letting something else do it for you. If you have to resort to that, well, are you even a creator at all? Like, why are you even here? Just to tell everyone that you're unfit to create? Get out of here, man. And then there are times where creations are more than just art, it's their healing ground. Like my dad gave me this book called Welcome to Marwincall that's both tragic and fascinating. It tells the story of Mark Hogenkamp, who was drinking heavily at a bar one night. He drunkenly told a man that he likes to cross-dress. As he was on his way home, the man along with his friends followed and brutally assaulted him, nearly to death. While he did survive, he sustained heavy injury and suffered from severe brain damage. He had to relearn certain things, such as how to walk and how to eat. But the worst part is, he has no memory of his previous life. Feeling robbed and lost, he decides to use fragments of his past as inspiration for his new life, what to pursue and what to avoid. So he created Marwincall, a small fictional town set in Belgium during the Second World War. It was created using whatever scraps and materials he could find, and uses all kinds of action figures and dolls as the inhabitants, some of which are based on him, his friends, and even his attackers. He uses photography in order to tell his story surrounding Marwincall, which can range from tranquil to brutal. It really is tragic how his previous life was stolen from him, simply for being different. He was able to survive such a brutal and horrifying encounter, but at a hefty cost. Marwincall is more than just a fictional town. It's how Mark is able to cope with the pain and suffering he still carries to this day. It's how he's able to find a new purpose in life, to show what he's capable of creating, what stories he has to tell, and most importantly, being happy again. Don't you see? It's more than just art. It's a journey. Now, this is something that's important to note that a lot of folks never seem to point out when it comes to AI art, and that is, it's just not impressive if it's so easy, literally anyone can do it. And if anyone can do it, is it even a method that's worthy of praise anymore? It's the same reason why I'm not too keen on laser cut wood. I actually thought they were really cool at first, but over the years, the more I see this type of craft, the more I lost interest in it. Because this particular method of crafting art from wood is so easy, it's no longer impressive. It's especially made evident when you see it absolutely everywhere online. The same thing goes for all those 3D printed plastic slop you see at farmers markets and conventions and such. They look pretty neat at first, not gonna lie, but once you realize that literally anyone can do this once they get their hands on a 3D printer and download a bunch of pre-made blueprints online, once again, it's no longer impressive. It's literally recycling someone else's work over and over. I mean, unless you did the renders all by yourself, then that's cool. If not, get out of here, you poser. It's thanks to these uninspired creations that made me have much more respect for actual carvers and such. Them being able to create almost anything out of wood, ice, or even sand is simply incredible. And the fact that they did it all by hand is what makes them truly outstanding. Their creations have value to them. They were crafted by pure skill, determination, experience, and a boatload of patience. AI art, on the other hand, has no value because it was randomly generated by a computer in a matter of seconds. At first, it does seem impressive in a way, but once you realize that all you have to do is type in a prompt and that's it, it's no longer impressive. So because of that, I simply cannot get invested in any of this AI generated stuff. It's just lazy, pointless, uninspired slop created by people who can't create and have sheer contempt for those who can. So I do get annoyed when people try to show off their AI generated content, basically begging for praise. And I'm like, when it comes to praise, you have to either earn it or deserve it. And so far, they haven't done anything to warrant it. Like, you seriously want praise for something that's as easy as typing in a search engine? Something anyone with functional fingers can do? If every kid at kindergarten can do the exact same thing you do, then you're not just replaceable, you're insignificant. I do sigh in utter disappointment when there are folks generating AI art and try to pass it off as their own. And it's like, no, you didn't create that. The computer did. You basically stole something you wanted to make, but couldn't be bothered to do on your own. If the computer could sue for art theft, it would. And who knows, seeing as how advanced AI has gotten in a matter of years, that might actually be possible at some point. This is the thing that upsets me the most about AI artists. It's when they simply don't understand art and what makes it so wonderful. They think it's just creating a bunch of cool, neat pictures and that's it. It's more than just that. It's showing how dedicated we are at bringing these ideas to life and that we're willing to spend as much time necessary in order to make that possible. It makes whatever we create even more valuable. Like, these are the types of people who think that buying a cake from the supermarket is the same as a homemade cake, or that buying a pre-written birthday card is the same as a handwritten one, or that texting your friend a congratulatory message on their wedding day is the same as attending it. Taking a quick and easy shortcut doesn't always cut it. One thing I find rather interesting about Japan is that women give chocolates to men on Valentine's Day. Now, they could just buy some from the store and it would suffice, or they could take the extra mile and make them entirely by hand. It's especially made evident in anime, when a cute girl decides to go through the trouble to make homemade chocolate in order to show their kindness or even affection towards the male protagonist. And you even have some anime shows where the girl has never made chocolate before, but despite all that, she is determined to learn how to make chocolate no matter what. And that's what makes it even more special. The fact that they went out of their way to take the time and effort to create the perfect confectionery treat just for you. It's what makes the chocolate even more sweet. It's enough to make any man, no matter how grown, cry. So it is unfortunate how there are folks out there who just don't see the real picture when it comes to creating things. And the problem with that is, people might find you to be lazy or even inconsiderate if you think that simply producing the end result with the most bare minimum effort is acceptable or even commendable. This would be like if your friend is holding a funeral for a loved one, and instead of attending it, you just send them a text saying, "I'm sorry for your loss." Yeah, it's the thought that counts, I suppose, but sometimes you gotta put in actual effort to show that you truly care. Another thing AI artists and entrepreneurs can't help but get intertwined with is pure unfiltered hypocrisy. Like, they seem to have no problems creating things that are only made possible through sheer theft and plagiarism. But they sure like to throw a hissy fit when someone else steals their creations, even though it wasn't even theirs to begin with. It's like when OpenAI more or less stole our data in order to make ChatGTP work the way it does. Yeah, I said ChatGTP instead of ChatGPT. Yeah, sorry, I'm not very good with numbers. Things look like they were in their favor, until a Chinese company by the name of DeepSeek stole their data so they could make their own version of the same thing. The folks at OpenAI were furious that DeepSeek stole their sweet, sweet, precious data, even though they stole it from all of us in the first place. This is the equivalent of a burglar complaining that someone stole their car, a car they originally stole from someone else. But see, that's exactly what happens when you make a product that can create things with little to no effort. Once someone acquires the juicy blueprint of your program, they can render you redundant and obsolete. It reminds me of that one Donald Duck comic I read years ago where Donald wants to become a writer but struggles to think of a single thing. He turns to Gyro Gearloose for help, who lends him a machine that can scan their users' thoughts and ideas and instantly print them out into a book. It seemed all fine and dandy at first when he created a hot dog recipe book, but it was rejected for being utterly terrible, simply because the writing is best summarized as,
"First you take a sausage from your fridge, and then a can of beans from last year. You also need some chopped onions and pickles, and lots of jelly sardines. Oh slip, oh smack, oh yum yum."
I would love to see Feast of Fiction or Bingin' with Babish try out that recipe. He then goes for a second attempt, only this time it's a TV manuscript inspired by a show he just watched. But he gets rejected as well, because all it did was plagiarize someone else's work entirely. Sounds awfully familiar with what's currently happening with AI, huh? But he then gets the idea of creating duplicates of the machine and starts selling them to the public so that anyone can become an author, much to the delight of everyone. However, things start to go downhill when the city of Duckburg gets flooded with books. As it turns out, all of these authors are only interested in selling their books. Nobody actually wants to read any of them because they're not made to be read, they're only made to sell, which defeats the whole purpose of writing books in the first place. As the store owner said best, people would rather write than to read. It's the same thing with AI. People would rather prompt than to make. Now look, I get that creating things can get quite complicated or even difficult for a lot of folks out there, but you gotta clear that major hurdle if it means bringing your ideas to life and have something to be proud of because you were able to craft it with your very own hands. There is nothing to be proud of by calling yourself an AI artist. You may think that you bypassed all the necessary training in order to become an actual artist, but in reality, you're just telling everyone that you don't respect art, you don't understand art, and that you're unable to create things on your own because you have no faith in yourself. AI artist? More like AI slave. Oh, look at that. They got an ad for Shark Tale on this one. Or Store Stillhigh, it's called in Danish. I gotta say, I find it quite upsetting when there are folks out there who think that making art is straight up impossible. Like they want to make art, but they just can't. It's by no means feasible. So when this whole generative AI has become much more advanced to where it can create almost anything you want by just simply typing in a prompt, you suddenly have all these nimrods gloat about how they can finally create masterpieces and such, all thanks to this wondrous technology. Give me a break. But the thing that really perplexes me the most about all this is when people make the implication that because of AI, it is now finally possible to make artwork of any kind. Like this guy here saying this incredibly baffling line.
Art just became accessible.
When was it not? Since when was creating art inaccessible? People have done it countless times over the years. Anyone can create art as long as you try. If you can type in a prompt, then you sure as heck can pick up a pen and draw on a piece of paper. Look, I'll do it right now. Yeah, look at this. I was able to draw this in a matter of minutes. Is it perfect? No, but I'd like to see you try to do better. It reminds me of that Vincent van Gogh quote.
If you hear a voice within you say, "You cannot paint," then by all means paint, and that voice will be silenced.
You see, doubt kills more dreams than failure ever will. So it's really upsetting to me that there are people who just give up and don't even bother giving an attempt. And again, I get that there are folks out there who want to become artists but don't actually want to go through all the necessary challenges in order to become one. Well, too bad. Fact is, if you want to become something greater, you have to devote time and effort in order to make that happen, whether you like it or not. It's like wanting to become healthier, lose weight, or gain a six-pack. It is possible, but you ultimately have to dedicate a part of your life or even make sacrifices to make that happen. Mankind cannot gain anything without giving something in return. That's just reality, my dude. You know what's really sad but also somewhat endearing? AI art has actually made me appreciate modern art for once. Yeah, I'm not joking. I've talked plenty of smack on modern art in the past. Trust me, I found it to be absolutely uninspired and ultimately lazy. It just felt like a massive step backwards compared to how we used to make art. To me, modern art is trash, and sometimes it literally is trash. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but because of this whole flood wave of AI art clogging up our internet feeds, I have newfound respect for modern art. Like, I'm actually really fascinated by it now, because when you see how completely random or straight up bizarre some of these can get, you can't help but wonder, what were they thinking when they came up with these? Like, it truly takes a special mind to come up with some of these types of art installations. Art you won't see anywhere else, art you can't anticipate or predict, as well as art that you would never in a million years construct yourself because of how incredibly oddly specific they are.
One was like a display of like a baby hanging by a string, and there's like an anchor on the ground, and it's like, this is 9/11. Like, I'm not making this up.
Like, it really makes you want to take a look inside the artist's brain and see what on earth is going on in there. Is this how they view the world? What inspired them to make these things in the first place? And why in this particular fashion, no less? It's questions like those that really make you respect their dedication to the craft. It's almost like trying to solve a puzzle at times. You're trying to figure out what it is they see that we don't. What is it about this art that speaks to them? Can you try to decode it from your perspective? Is there really more than meets the eye? These artists have made these particular types of artwork that made sense to them. And that's when I realized, that's the joy of making art. It's a way to express yourself. Whatever you create is a truly unique, one-of-a-kind art piece that can only be made possible by you and you only. It's about expressing yourself, showing everyone what you're truly capable of creating from your very own hands. Sure, they may not always be viewed as masterpieces or anything like that, but they don't have to be. If it's a way to show everyone your true potential and how devoted you are in making them into reality, then that's all that matters. Any art is better than no art because you actually put in the effort to make something possible happen. Many people struggle to take the initiative when it comes to being productive, whether it's going to the gym, reading at the library, or creating handmade products. It's a gigantic hurdle many folks are unable to overcome, either because they're too intimidated by it or they just don't have enough faith in themselves. It reminds me when I made that isekai video. I really wanted to do an opening bit involving puppets and practical sets, mostly because I grew increasingly numb from watching AI-generated slop. I craved for something that was actually there. But while I made the sets and everything needed to create the bit, I was very hesitant to start filming it in action, because I had no experience in this type of thing, so I was actually discouraged from doing it for months. But as time went on, I finally decided to give it a shot. And you know what? I was incredibly surprised at how well it turned out. It's not bad for my first attempt at something I've never done before, so I'm quite proud of what I was able to achieve simply by just trying. And see, that could happen to you too. Getting started is the hard part, but once you overcome that major obstacle, anything seems possible from that point on, so go out there and show the world what you're truly made of. I believe in you. Overall, despite all the concerns and possible fear people might have for AI art, I firmly believe that it's never going to replace real art, no matter how advanced it might get, because the whole point of art is that it allows us human beings to express ourselves and how we see things in a way others do not. AI art, on the other hand, has no purpose, no ambition, and most importantly, no heart or soul. It can't create, only regurgitate. It's no different than hitting the random button on a character creator and claiming it as your own original creation. And because of AI-generated content, I'm starting to appreciate things that were actually created by people more and more, even if they are terrible. Like Ratatouille, for example. A movie that clearly stole the recipe for Ratatouille, but is severely lacking the key ingredients. Even though it is an abysmal dreck of a movie, I have much more respect for it than any of this AI-generated slop, because the folks who made Ratatouille at least went through the trouble of learning how to animate, which is far more commendable than simply typing in a prompt. Sure, it's by no means Pixar-level style of animation, but it did in fact have effort involved, and some effort is better than no effort.
Precisely!
Even if whatever you create isn't fantastic, the fact that you actually went through the trouble of creating something is commendable in its own right. So if anything, I think all this AI stuff has made us be more thankful for man-made creations. I now have far more respect and admiration for artwork that has been made possible without the use of such technology. No shortcuts, no gimmicks, no nonsense, just pure skill and determination. Heck, I'm even starting to appreciate all the silly little drawings kids would make, whether they're crayon doodles or macaroni art. It's not like they struggled to create, they just did it naturally. What does it say when literal preschoolers can actually create art, whereas AI artists cannot? It's simply embarrassing. And the biggest problem with AI right now is that it's heavily being used in spam as well as scams. I've already seen a number of ads and such where it's clearly AI generated. So when you use imagery made by AI, people might just assume that your product is nothing more than one big sham. In fact, they might just associate all AI creations as such. A shameful ploy in order to trick and deceive. And don't get the wrong idea, I'm not saying that you're a terrible person for using AI. If you're using it for fun or whatnot, That's fine, but don't go around claiming that you're an artist by simply using a program such as that and rubbing it in the faces of actual artists. It's the equivalent of putting on a bodybuilder costume and claiming that the muscles are indeed legit. Well, if that's the case, then how about you put that to the test and prove it then, It'll just end up becoming like that one SpongeBob episode with the anchor arms. It is something to be wary of in the future. Getting caught using AI in the art industry could be the equivalent of getting caught using steroids in sports or the Olympics. But whatever happens with the future of AI, I'm simply not interested. It's just slop without a purpose. In the end, I would still prefer going to art museums and get engrossed in the history, the wonder, as well as admire the creative vision and passion expressed by those who dare to dream and make them real. I'm also far more interested to see what people, particularly those on YouTube, can create. I've found so many wondrous things gifted to us all by wondrous people. You can tell someone's an artist when they make it abundantly clear that no AI was used in any way, shape, or form, because they actually have integrity as well as respect for art in general. Sure, corporations will say whatever they can to justify the use of AI, but in reality, it's just a sleazy way to save time and to save money. If you actually care about art, then neither of these should ever be a concern in the first place. I feel like we initially took art for granted, but thanks to the uninspired sloppiness of AI, art has been given the proper respect it deserves. So power to the artists and power to those who actually create. So thank you very much for attending today, and I hope to see you again. And remember, don't let dreams be dreams. You have the power to make them into reality. So please grab a ticket and join me next time. Admission is free. Take care and have a nice day.